Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the revival of the NAPRA. And this also means that we are reviving the NAPRA cooldown lap. And I am joined here with the one and only King and the one and only Supreme.
Here.
Yo.
And today we're going to be going over a few things to start the first one of the 2025 season. So, we got a few categories. We got a recap of our recent event. We got historic streak from Forza Blade. Surprise there. D2 domination, recent races, future races, blah, blah, blah. So, I say we start with the recap of Saskatchewan that ended last night. So to start, Saskatchewan is one of NAPRA's custom road courses. A fast road course. It's only, we're averaging 45-second lap times, probably 40 seconds.
Yeah, 40 mid to low 40s.
Yeah. So
or mid to high, rather.
Mm-hmm. So it's a fast road course. It can be tough as well with corner cut walls, but corner cuts.
That was a big factor this weekend. The corner cut walls, everybody trying to cut it close. Had a lot of incidents that weekend, but it was good. It was fun to see who could get close and with minimizing their mistakes.
I got close. I don't know how many times there was.
You were one of the few with the least amount of incidents, if I remember.
Yeah.
You had a couple instances where it was up front and collected everyone, but overall, I think Forza had a really bad day.
He did have a bad day.
He had a bad weekend. D2 was rough for everybody, but D1 he had a lot of mistakes, which is uncharacteristic for him. Especially at a track as technical as Saskatchewan is. He's usually, surgical there at those tracks, but still found out how to get the win.
I mean, I don't want to sound like a butthole. Caught myself there. But it was nice to see Forza struggle a little bit because he doesn't struggle anywhere. Flat tracks are his specialty. I think it was nice
humanized
to see him. I think it was nice to see him, like you said, humanized. See him start making mistakes, and I mean, he still gutted through it. He still did really good. I mean, obviously, he won the race.
I don't think he would have won that race if it stayed green at that last caution. Frando had that in the bag.
Oh yeah.
Some of the cautions were iffy in my opinion. I think they were either waiting too long to throw them or they were throwing them when they didn't need to be thrown.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I wouldn't have thrown that last caution. Frando would have won. Forza got lucky with the circumstance and had a really good triple overtime. By the way, that's Saskatchewan, first of the new era, I believe, made it all the way to the last attempt.
I mean, I was upset on the second overtime when I was racing Forza for the lead. But again, after hugging his car, I had two things in my head. I'm like, I either hit this wall at full speed, or I slowed down, wreck people behind me, and then hit the wall. And I'm like, I'm going to wreck everyone either way. So I'm like, I'm just going to try to get over as far as I can.
Stick it.
And I'm like, I'm going to hit it. It was just, I couldn't get over. Forza wasn't pushing me over, but there was just little room. And
it's tight. It's tight.
I made the bad choice of gunning it and trying to race side by side because it's hard to race side by side with the first set of the S's.
Well, yes, but
Forza
also
was running a defensive line. And I'm like, because I was like, if he clears me, it's done. That's why I tried to stay side by side because I'm like, it's either a win or lose right here. So obviously it lost me, but 16.
I personally don't blame you for making the move you did because I believe it was Mario Andretti that said any driver that doesn't go for a gap is no longer a driver. So I would have gone for it. I respect you for going for it, even if it ended up in a misfortunate finish. But it was good racing. Saskatchewan, it might have been Senna.
Yeah,
I don't remember. It was one of the European guys, but well, Andretti wasn't European, was he? I think he was. Never mind. Anyway, Saskatchewan is a tight track, so a lot of it comes down to side by side who's gonna give first. And I mean, in these races, you just can't afford to do that. I mean, it's just how it is.
So, Supreme, how did your overall weekend go with Saska?
Let's just start off with qualifying. I know King said it wasn't the strongest qualifying performance, but I think 11 minutes out of qualifying because I didn't want to be in the front early.
Mm-hmm.
But because you saw I went from 10th to 4th out of the S's before that first caution came out. So that was kind of like the mindset was to like kind of just hover around. But of course, a lot of people kind of struggled early on. So I was able to get into the top 5 pretty early. See, I was around fourth, third, fourth, fifth all race long. Wasn't gonna compete with Frando or Forza, but I thought I could top 3. But it was a solid weekend. Usually pretty solid at road courses anyway, so a fourth place finish isn't that bad. Especially when you got everyone ending you every corner, but just racing like how racing is supposed to be. If I were to do it, he'd call me a terrorist, but everyone's a hypocrite. So,
That's
all right,
very
I
true.
guess.
Yeah. Hurdle, yeah. Your post-race interview was very spiteful.
Uh,
I'm glad you brought up Frando's name though, because he really impressed me at Saskatchewan all weekend. He fired off fast in practice, like top 2, qualified pole, and then dominated the race. Really led the most laps by a wide margin. Finished second to Forza, but I believe he should have had that win if the caution didn't come out, which it shouldn't have in my opinion. But I wasn't the main official that race, so that
what are you
was
gonna do
King's
when
decision to
the
make.
car is stuck on racing line?
What?
At the end of the moment, if I'm running top 2, competing for a win, I wouldn't want a car to come out. But it comes to a point where if a car is getting stuck on the track repeatedly and is on the racing line, it's like, yeah, a caution might have to be called. Of course, at the expense of you losing
Is that
that
what
race
that's what it was
after having to
for? It was
engage.
because somebody got stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, Deer got
Who?
stuck on the apron.
The second
Oh
Deer
my
time.
god!
Deer got stuck on
It
the
gets to a
apron, and
point where
then
it's on purpose.
almost collected 3 other people, but luckily they were able to evade him. But yeah, that was why the caution was called at that moment.
It gets to a point where it seems like it's on purpose. I don't know. I don't know how you get stuck 3 times.
And he was legitimately stuck. His car was basically off the
Well, I
ground
believe
and
he was
hinged
legitimately
onto.
stuck, but I believe he got himself stuck to bring out a caution.
Apparently he
That just
got
seems like
into it
something
with
Deer would
Zach.
do.
Like at least that's what he said, that he got into it with Zach, and that's what caused him. But other than that, it's frustrating for Frando to have a 3+ second lead, now be taken away because of other drivers not being able to keep their tires to themselves for like 5 more or so laps.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
at one point Brando had like a 30-second lead actually at one point, because I know I was in like third and I was like 30 seconds back from, maybe it wasn't 30 seconds from second place, but it was definitely like 20 or so. He had a really big lead over second at one point.
It was enroaching.
I know. So, like, from my perspective, when I was leading a few laps there after I got clear and whoever else, I definitely got better as the race went on. When I was by myself, especially, I got really good in the braking zones, and I was starting to kind of be able to keep ahead of Flicker. But then I don't know what it was, but I just started screwing up my line a lot, losing time,
And sold his lead in 5 laps, and he said he's better as a race.
Yeah, I started choking up. I was doing really good for a while, but then I just started. I think
Really could have been talking about Ford should have won this race. Yeah. And so
please
hey,
don't humor me.
I will say one thing. I'm glad I actually felt like good about a race for once, because one like approach I've tried taking this season is I try to not talk during races, because I noticed Supreme, you do that a lot. You don't talk much at all. I was trying to not speak during races because it helps me focus more. And it's like the second I started talking to King, OG King, about I forgot what it was. Oh, he was talking about me leading. I started just losing time lap after lap, and I'm like, yeah, I need to stop talking. And then after I realized that, I tried to get back in my rhythm, and it didn't work. I was trying too hard, and then got passed, and then we had that caution come out. But I will
we're
say,
talking about road racing as like a men's game.
I will say though, before that caution, the race was going pretty well. I mean, it was really the first half of the race wasn't too bad. The second half got iffy. I mean, it's just a lot of drivers try to go for a constant gap, whether there is one or not, which I'm guilty of it too. I'm not saying, I'm not guilty. Some other people aren't guilty. Everyone's guilty of it at some point, but it gets to a certain point where it starts happening consistently with maybe not certain people, but it just happens consistently throughout a weekend, and it starts to be like, okay, we need to kind of calm down on this. But I think Saska's setups, I know some people complain about it tighter than practice, which it wasn't, and some people complain about it being too loose. I think for Saska, those setups were fine. I don't think they need to be tighter, and I'm starting to agree with King more on the tight setups, and it's making more sense to me. And I am agreeing with the tighter setups.
Isn't that funny? Hey.
But Saska, I feel like those setups are really good.
It just come down to the track, depending on if they need to be looser or not. I think that just might be but a lot of times it's just. I think the drivers just need to be a bit better. But I do kind of agree the cars could definitely be a lot smoother. But low key, this might just be the best that we get.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, because I know one thing I really want, I've always wanted for NAPRA, is just better cars. There will not be a 5th generation unless I can get a car that is really different. Meaning, like, even if I spend Robux and buy a chassis and car that makes it better, and then that would really help. I wish I could, but it's gonna be tough to find cars like that because we've been using the same basic tank chassis since season 1 essentially. I mean, there hasn't been many differences besides scripts and values and like the tires and everything. So it's been kind of the same like 2020 style row racing, and it's evolving from them. Like you see leagues like I was just talking about before we started, like Pumu and leagues like Bubbles League, stuff like that, where
RRL.
Yeah, the internals of which, speaking of RRL, I actually trying to reach out to Rock to talk about a partnership possibly. So we used to have one, which I don't know if it is his Discord. I think it is, and he hasn't responded yet. I'll see. And I know he's helped us.
He doesn't respond.
Oh, he never responded before.
He doesn't respond.
I think it's him because he never responded before, so it makes sense.
I think he's just ignoring us. I don't think he likes us anymore.
Probably not. But I know he used to help me dev, and him and I we used to call every once in a while, kind of chat and stuff. So, he does not respond often. So we'll see what goes on there. But besides Saska, I mean, I feel like D1 was better than D2.
Absolutely. For probably the first time all season.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just been Forza sticking up the show in D1. Daytona was supposed to be better than D2, if I'm being honest, but I don't know. I kind of screwed it up. I don't know. It was a collection of issues at Daytona.
Yeah, there was a lot of Daytona. But while we're on the Forza thing here, let's go to the second topic: Forza's 4-race winning streak in the Cup Series. That's I don't want to say I'm not surprised, but I'm partially.
Well, then I'll say it. I'm not surprised. Like
50-50.
nobody obviously expects him to go out and win 4 in a row to start the season, but it's Forza. If anybody were to do it, it would be him. So
I will say, once we had that first caution, like 20 laps in or whatever, at Saska, not the first caution, but halfway through when it was well, I kind of thought, I'm like, I think Forza's streak ends. I didn't want to say it because there's a lot of racing left, and I know Saska, caution breeds caution. I mean, it's like that everywhere, but especially Saska because, again, Saska's hard when you try to go for gaps that aren't there. But for Forza to come out here, win Daytona, I choked away. Well, input delay. I held A before I was even in the corner, and it did not work until I was mid-corner. It drove me nuts. But so Forza won Daytona. He won Maryland, with no surprise Maryland. Charlotte, not much of a surprise either. and Saska. And he's got a very good chance at Darlington. He's great at Darlington.
Well, the stats disagree. I mean, when was the last time he won in Darlington? It's been
a long time.
What, 3 seasons?
Yeah, it's been a while. But he's always up front. It's just there's a lot of good drivers. Darlington's one of the most competitive tracks in the league. There's a lot of
if I could make Darlington, I would get somebody to sign me for that D2 race because I love Darlington. It's my home track, and I love how I have the cars handling there. So, but I'm mad I can't make any of the races.
Hey, you're
but
going
I'm
in
not,
person though.
But I'm not mad. Yeah, I'm not mad because I'm going to the actual race. So it's bittersweet.
Wait till you hear how loud those like 35 cars are. It won't be as loud as Bristol, but you'll get goosebumps and you'll be like, holy crap. Like, even at Mid Ohio, where I work, we had the truck series.
Y'all did 150 laps at Darlington last season.
Oh my gosh.
No, not last season.
That is a lot.
2 seasons ago, I think.
That's a lot of laps. I never realized how long our race is.
The stream was an hour and a half, basically, a little under. So we could probably do that again, honestly.
Wow.
It's a crown jewel, too. It's a crown jewel.
You guys are talking to a former Darlington winner here. I beat.
Oh, yeah, 2 former Darlington winners. All right, so D2 will probably do like, what, 125? 120? Yeah. I'll go for the under 120.
So yeah, let's speak about while we're on the top, let's speak about the upcoming couple of races here. So we'll talk about the next 4 races.
I really like this stretch of races on the schedule right here. Because we got Darlington, then we move to Ohio, Forza home track, then we go to Atlanta, Supreme's home track. So that's 3 straight home tracks, mine, Ford, and Supreme's.
And then Phoenix before the All-Star
Phoenix
break.
is the All-Star.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we have a break after the All-Star?
Yes, it's a week off between Phoenix and Milwaukee.
Is that halfway? Is that when we do mid-season tryouts?
I believe so.
Okay.
I don't know if it's exactly halfway, but it's awfully close. I'm pretty sure I think that's a break. Let me check real quick.
It actually is halfway. It is halfway through the regular season.
And yes,
okay,
it is
so
a break. Yeah, we'll have a week off.
Yeah, we'll have mid-season tryouts.
But yeah,
we have an influx of people.
So my opinion for the podcast is we do every 4 races. So like Daytona through Saska we're doing right now, and then we'll talk about Darlington, Phoenix, and we'll do it during the All-Star break, the next cool down lap, and so on. So while we're on it, talk about the next 4 tracks. Kind of again, Darlington, one of the most competitive tracks in the league. I know the one season I still feel like I should have won. I was one of the only drivers who did not take advantage of wall taps because officiating was very, very, very loose that race. And I'd get mad because Forza was the most prevalent to wall tapping, and he'd catch me by doing that. But when they were strict on wall taps, we'd be about even. I'd slightly gain. But then once the wall taps started coming in,
I don't even think Forza was top 5 during that last fuel stretch.
Yeah, I don't think he was.
Because I'm pretty sure the tweet that came out, how it was you, Robloxian, and himself, and it was just basically who will run out of fuel first.
Yeah. But yeah, so Darlington, I know Supreme, you're really good at Darlington. Ford's good at Darlington. King, you're good at Darlington too, aren't you?
I'm very good at Darlington.
I don't know why I couldn't remember much. He went to Reno,
I won last season.
Did you? Oh.
Yeah.
I know I'm
I barely beat Frando. Frando was running me down the last 10 laps, but I barely beat him.
Yeah, Frando's.
I think everyone was running you down the last 10 laps.
Yeah, probably.
Frando's also really good at Darlington. I mean, almost everybody's good at Darlington, and it's. I don't want to.
Well, the setups weren't hard. Weren't hard.
Darlington literally runs like.
Hopefully, these setups that I have will be more challenging. They're definitely more finessable, if you get what I'm saying.
Well, Darlington and.
How does that sound gay? Finessable?
No, I didn't say gay.
What'd you say?
I stopped mid-sentence.
Well, I know in in like NR 2003 and certain like the next gen on iRacing, Darlington is a very easy track to run, as in you can. It's harder when you're around people, obviously. But by yourself, it's one of the easier tracks to maintain as long as you know the racing line. Because, 1 and 2, you're dang near full throttle until turn. Like, you can dive into that corner, slide up towards the wall, and drop back down off of 2 and get a great run. Darlington's a very unique track. That's why I love it. And then 3 and 4 is more like a typical intermediate in a way where, you gotta usually tap the brake on entry, run it around the bottom or the top.
Turns 3 and 4 at Darlington remind me of the Nashville Fairgrounds. That's how I would describe it.
That's pretty accurate, actually. I never thought about that. So yeah, Darlington, it's one of the easier tracks to be good at, but it's also it's tougher to stay ahead of everybody, if that makes sense. Like, it's an easy track, but to be able to win makes it slightly tougher because you got to stay in front of everybody, because it's similar to super speedways and everyone has very similar times most of the time. So it's kind of
probably because draft was usually always between 2 to 3 miles an hour. So it was pretty easy to.
Yeah, draft used to be really high then. I think it's one or 2 miles. It just has slight build.
It should be one. It should be one at intermediates, which is what that package is. And then it'll obviously stack, but it should be terrible.
We ended up almost taking it out after Charlotte, but it ended up actually not really helping too much, so we just.
Oh yeah.
Ohio Speedway, my beloved track, where I suck at fuel strategy. Ran out 2 seasons ago. Nearly broke my winless streak 1 corner away, leading in front of Supreme, and I ran out of fuel.
I love Ohio. Ohio's been good to me.
It's a good track. It's really entertaining from the broadcast perspective, and it's really fun to drive too.
Don't really like Ohio, despite me winning there. I really don't like.
Is it because it's a flatter short track?
I mean, I have no issues running a flat track because I can call it at flat tracks, but at New Hampshire, this is my best flat track. So,
speaking of New Hampshire, I actually thinking about testing at New Hampshire.
Dude, we're gonna have to expand the schedule a lot because there's a lot of tracks.
I'm just gonna put
Pocono.
There's a lot of tracks we missed out on.
Rockingham. I tested.
I wanted Rockingham this season.
I tested Rockingham.
We could literally add Michigan, Pocono,
Michigan, Pocono,
Las Vegas isn't on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Kentucky.
I'm just gonna add all these tracks. I'm retiring. It's unfortunate.
Let me check the archives. Check the archive track.
Yeah, I made.
Look at New Hampshire, Martinsville maybe.
Today.
Martinsville maybe. Rockingham, Pocono, Las Vegas,
Rockingham,
Pocono, Richmond, maybe even Richmond. Now that we have break and turn.
Pocono,
I feel like break and turn will help Richmond a lot.
Pocono, Martinsville,
Coda,
and Martinsville are 3 tracks that I really want to see. And Coda.
I want to see
the
Coda
new configuration.
We probably have to make our own.
That wouldn't. So if I can get enough overhead photos and stuff, I could probably do it.
El Dorado.
Never realized that was a real track. El Dorado. But let's move on to the next super speedway, April 19th to 20th. Atlanta Motor Speedway, the Pennzoil 400. Atlanta's been a very odd track for us, honestly.
I think last season that model was strange.
Yeah.
It was really tight.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a wreck fest most of the way.
Well, Atlanta's been odd because we had that old model before it was repaved. That, it wasn't too bad. It was kind of like the Talladega we use, the banking's relatively low, has 3 different lines.
I think I remember that one.
Yeah.
I think I remember that.
That was the most common throughout racing.
That Atlanta model is kind of used everywhere.
Yeah, I was
never
just
really
that.
bothered to make it actually good. Every time that 3 and 4, everyone would literally go below the yellow line.
Yeah,
and it was just
or
they raw right the entire corner.
And that's why I made my little test configuration where
where the entire first race was basically wide.
Yep, it was basically I mixed Phoenix into Atlanta. I did that dogleg thing. It wasn't the most horrible thing. It went better than I thought.
It literally did nothing.
Nah, well, it helped with people going under the line in turn 1 and 2, mainly turn 1. And then obviously we switched to the repave model because that was around the time Atlanta was repaved.
But it should be dogfight. I think it'll probably be caution as well.
Which I
So
really, really, I don't mind the Atlanta repave, but God, I really wanted to see the next gens on that old surface. I don't think it would have been the greatest race, but I would have loved to see the next gens.
the damn cars.
The 2022 next gen, the 2022 Gen 7 was also crap. It had a lot of issues.
Well, I mean, it's a first-year car.
Well, yeah.
It's to be expected.
Part of the issue was just terrible. Because it was... I do not think. Anyway.
At the beginning, the CO2 was shitty.
Oh, yeah, at the beginning it was garbage. But,
Oh, I can't cuss. Whoops.
The Gen 7, the biggest issues with, like... The biggest reason they had so many issues, especially with the tires and stuff, was because we've never had a car like that before. Like, it was from the ground up, basically, from scratch. So you're going to have a lot of issues in the first 1-2 years. It's been really good since, like, 2023. It's been a pretty good car, I'm not going to lie.
I don't watch enough NASCAR to have an opinion.
But let's go to the All-Star race presented by AMC Theaters at Phoenix Raceway before our...
If you're a Roblox goon, then you love this race because you know Roblox. But other than that, who really cares? In my opinion, I think the All-Star race should have been at like an entirely different track instead of Phoenix.
I wanted to put it at Texas. I love it at Texas. It was really good that season. Texas is a lot different in real racing versus real life.
I honestly would have liked to see the All-Star race at like a shorter track, not an intermediate. Like
my choices was Phoenix, Texas, and North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been better at Wilkesboro. In my opinion.
So Phoenix, I mean, Phoenix is not a horrible track for NAPRA, but it's also not one we really raced much.
We only raced it once, and that was the championship race last season.
Yeah, Phoenix is like the least raced track we have.
I mean, I could say this for basically every track on the schedule, but I think break and turn will definitely help the racing there a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, the corners were a pain before that, and I think they'll be a lot more manageable.
Although, what I really want is to find a quality version of Phoenix before the dogleg was added. Like a 2010.
Oh, yeah. Did we ever find that?
I didn't look.
Oh.
I'll do that.
I could look right now. I have Studio open right now.
That works. Because I love, like, the ASCA quality, because Phoenix is one of the ASCA tracks that doesn't give you as much server lag as, like,
Daytona. I just got some insider knowledge from Flickr. He said he won't be attending the next 2 races, so...
Yeah, he's having a very iffy schedule for the majority of the season that remains due to his IRL karting and stuff.
He'll be at a
alright.
Deficit. He should still make the playoffs. Last year's champion, I mean, he's expected to.
Yeah, Phoenix. We'll see what goes on with Phoenix. I mean, I think it'll be a decent race. I'm hoping for the no dogleg version. Because at the moment where we still have the current 2024 model. So, what do we got next? Oh, reset races. Daytona weekend. Daytona's always kind of a crap fest. It's Daytona fashion for NAPRA. I don't know what it is about Daytona. Always have so many issues for Daytona. It's
I found it first try.
Oh, did you?
Oh wait, no, never mind. Wait, are there
Maryland was a 50-50 weekend. D2 was phenomenal. D1 was horrible.
I would say horrible.
Well, I guess I
Was
D1
average
D1 was
flat track
fine.
race.
D1 was fine. Forza just kicked y'all's asses, but it was fine.
Passing.
Oh my god.
Charlotte was. I when I look back after I finished D1, I thought D1 Charlotte was not great, but it wasn't horrible.
You said you want a Phoenix without the dogleg, where it's still grass on the inside.
Yeah.
And you said you wanted to be ASCA quality.
Yeah.
You mean the stadium or the track itself?
Track. Charlotte, obviously. Charlotte's one of our crown jewel weeks. Rarely ever goes bad. D2 was a very, very good race.
It's literally flat.
They're fests, but it was a pretty good race. D1 was very good, more spread out than D2 by a large margin. Although it was still a pretty good race. And Saska, we already talked about Saska. Any opinions on the first 3 races of the season?
I have no opinion because I've struggled
D2
so
is
far.
going to be much more interesting than D1. It's my
D1's
take.
basically probably going to be like Forza and then whoever's fighting out for that second place spot. Honestly,
Really.
actually, do we have like any good storylines for? Did you conjure up any good storylines, or are we just going to keep talking about tracks and
Oh, the
packages?
64 in D1. He is not very popular at all.
Oh, yeah, I was going to get to that when we were talking about Saska, but I got sidetracked.
Okay, there's
Vindictive
a
is
storyline.
not making friends at all in the Cup Series. It was
He is
even after Charlotte. After Charlotte, he had like 2 guys on his neck. I think that was
Arca
after
breaks.
the D2 race.
Arca breaks.
That might have.
I wasn't going to name names, and I had my run-ins.
We're naming
with
names.
Saska.
We're naming names. We're naming names.
I had my run-ins at Saska with him. I definitely had run-ins at Saska.
Flicker had a lot to say for him after. Flicker and David both had some choice words after Charlotte. You can check the stream after this. Just skip to the end and you'll see their interviews. But they were not happy with the 64, and then some more complaints after Saskatchewan. I believe both races because he substituted for a teammate in D2. So
correct.
He's gonna be somebody to watch. He might. These other drivers are gonna make it tough for him to compete for wins if he keeps racing like how he is.
I think he's got some potential in D2, although he needs to get used to the cars more, and he needs to fix that negative. Got a large negativity the minute something goes wrong, it seems like, and he just gets caught up in that mindset. And then the braking issue, he does not brake whatsoever. Kyle drove me multiple times at Maryland and Saska. I know I tried to give him.
Oh, you shouldn't have been back there in Maryland.
Yeah, Maryland, I was horrible. Which Maryland, that was, I believe, only like the second time, if not the first time I raced Maryland. I was always busy on Maryland weekend prior. So this was either my first or second race in Maryland.
I can't find a Phoenix model.
I'll keep it. Fine. If
you
not,
just move the
it
start
won't be the worst thing to race the current model.
I kind of prefer the current model.
Headlines for Deere driving a short-lived development car for STP. Which again, STP sadly shutting down at the end of the season, being sold to Drone Strike Racing. I hate to see it. One of the OG teams owned by our very own Supreme.
Yeah, I'm sure all of y'all are rejoicing that DRT's over.
No.
We know.
No. I loved the run STP had, especially with Dodge. I loved it, especially in like the Gen 3 era where we had the big beefy, Gen 6 looking Challengers. You guys had a really good run. I mean, you guys have done really good. I'm gonna hate to see the team go because it's like it's gonna feel like someone died.
All time and literally second all time and only to Blaze.
Mm-hmm.
No one's touching them. They're at 130 wins at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. BTM is on top. No, definitely.
Yeah, but we're also 20 wins ahead of third place, which is Bear.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah, I would transfer ownership to somebody, but I don't think Dodge. So yeah, Dodge no more in NAPRA. But hey, we'll go down as the second best league history. No one's touching that crown, that silver crown, I guess, whatever.
Well, again, I'm gonna see T go. Gonna feel more up there.
Yeah, there's gonna be no other team that competes plays week in and
mhm.
week out. So
Two teams I wish that stayed. A lot of people didn't like them.
Track
Starbroad and
Star
Trackstar.
Oh, we know.
Yes, I loved those teams. I don't know why. Which Toyota
because they were like the outsider teams
yeah, they were similar to
that
Bear.
also kind of were not really that good
Yeah,
for one season.
we don't have a Toyota team, which is
Or
so
Honda.
surprising.
Or Honda.
Harris.
Yeah, or Honda. But I didn't expect Toyota. We were supposed to have a Honda team, but it was shut down. Blah blah blah. Which Honda will stay as an option next season. Stop! Not. Give me a second.
I don't know. Okay.
I'm interested to see what team will take DRT's place though. Like, not really in wins, but or in like success, but who will fill that spot in the field? Because we know DSR will be taking their assets, and Bear and BTM are sticking around, and McAuliffe is sticking around. That's one of the new teams, but
McAuliffe's been doing pretty good.
McAuliffe has been.
Honestly, I'd rather see MCM kind of be like that new team, that new run and gun team, surprises everybody. I'd
McAuliffe
rather
has
be
really
them
been
than
strong in
any
D2.
Oh yeah.
and any other team. I kind of don't care because like just as a competitor, me don't like Blaze. Always had a run-ins with them. Air, you're cool, like I guess, but you're still our little brother.
not
Then
wrong.
DSR, I mean, they're aligned with B naturally that this game's gonna come towards them because they're also forward. But just as a competitor, don't like any team league, but just outside of that, like love competing with every team. All the chaos and good to compete night in, night out against those teams, whether it be me leading, dominating, or I'm in last place or whatever. Just enjoyable 5 years that have been wasted away on this league. I'm joking, but that's how it is.
Well, DRT's having a good start to the season, especially with Frando.
Yeah.
Oh no, we are not.
Yes, Nick.
We are not.
Frando's jumped right into the car and done like really good at Charlotte and last week at.
I mean, granted, you guys aren't doing as good as you used to.
But y'all also have a full roster.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they actually just picked up Yo Trade, like literally the day of D1 Saskatchewan.
But to be completely fair, we're running with a completely new team. Like literally, our whole team is new except for Radiant and Frando. And then I haven't raced in a year and a half, so that's definitely going to be a fork in the road to try and evade. But do kind of have a storyline. I guess, real quick, if y'all have an opinion. Early season struggles for we don't talk about this guy much, but Zach, you know how he always goes, dude. It's just like 10th place finishes until like the last three races of that he starts going on a top three tear to make the final four. And I guess not in the veracity of like a season two, season three Supreme, but veteran playoff risers, Supreme and Zach, just struggling early in the season. Zach with no top 10, with no top fives, and Supreme with only one after Saska. How do we see them stacking up in these cover races to see if they can climb their way back up to their, I guess, former glory? I don't know how to really put it, but
I mean, I really want to see what Yo Trade does.
Zach is currently behind the 64 in points, which is bad.
DSR has a rocky road thus far. I mean, Reno.
Dragon came into
retired.
Saskatchewan third. Dragon came into Saskatchewan third in points, which is good.
Yeah.
And then Zach is struggling. We saw, I don't know if anybody else saw it, but I saw Dragon at the end of Saskatchewan begging for a new teammate from Tom. So
I saw.
I don't know. I don't know what that was about. That's
they probably had a
keep an
run
eye
on the
or
white
watch.
flag or whatever last restarts.
Hopefully for them it doesn't carry over, but it'll be something to keep an eye on, especially at Darlington, very driver heavy track.
I mean, I wonder how DSR is gonna go because I mean, Dragon, he's a great driver. Zach, he definitely has shown a lot of strength in prior seasons. We're yet to see him kind of do extremely well yet. Torino, he's essentially retired. I keep thinking he is when he's not. He's signed, but he's likely not gonna race many races at all.
Also, Tom signed Zach for like 31 decillion seasons, so he's locked in.
Yeah, he's locked in.
He signed Dragon for 5 seasons, so he's
for Forza, obviously.
He's confident. Duh.
Yeah.
Well, Torino's confident in his guys, and you got to respect that.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
he
didn't offer. I don't think he even offered anybody in D1 until they tried out, and then he offered them and they signed. So
yeah,
cool to see that loyalty between team owner and driver.
Yeah, Zach was one of those. He had like 3 offers for hours, and then once Torino's popped up, I watched the second it popped up, instant click. I mean, we knew it was coming. I didn't think it was literally a second after.
They're not starting off hot at all.
No.
So it's maybe a little bit of worry over there. And
Dragon and Michigan are doing good. Dragon's third in points, and then Michigan's
came
currently
into
on the top of the standings.
Yeah, he went into Saskatchewan leading points.
Yeah, Michigan. They're D2 for having 2 people. They're doing relatively good.
Well, Michigan got a D1 license in tryouts. He just couldn't make the time, so he's got D1 speed, and he's
the DSR drivers are on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Michigan came into Saska first, and Bryce came into the standings 16th.
Yeah, I was gonna say Bryce came in low.
In the spectrum, but hey, I feel like every team kind of has that. If you look through the standings, a lot of these teams are kind of just mumbled, jumbled all over the place here. Yeah. Some teams kind of lower than most, like DRT's pretty low so far this season. DSR also kind of have that weird split. Only teams that are kind of pretty above water right now are BMS in both divisions, despite both flickering for it kind of being middling, and BTM, who strong start to the season, 5 wins, D1 and D2. Going to the other teams, DRT and DSR, have yet to win, with BMS and MCM, the newcomer, having the second most wins on the year. It'll be very interesting to see how MCM and the other Chevrolet team will formulate. Maybe they can surpass Bear as the dominant heavy team. We'll have to see in the coming season races.
There's a lot of potential on McAuliffe. I mean, their D2 field, Ruby's got to step up with the speed overall. Genetic's been decent, hasn't he?
He was solid in his first D2 start at Saskatchewan.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was his first start.
The only points he had earned prior to that race were from a subs. Yeah. And that his sub was vindictive, so that's not very telling.
Volvo's their bright spot right now. He has 2 wins on the year.
Volvo's been great.
More than likely will climb up in the standings after that surprise win at Saska, but he's been very, very surprising this season. Was in D1 at those times, but as soon as he stepped into that D2 ride, that man 2 straight wins, 2 straight. That is amazing, unheard of for a rookie ever.
Yeah.
So he'll be an interesting storyline to watch through the season. Maybe he can win his first championship in his first season. No driver has ever done that before, I don't think.
McAuliffe made a great decision acquiring Volvo from DRT after he couldn't make the race times, because he jumped right into that car and won his first 2 starts. I mean, his first start was Maryland. He didn't win Maryland, but he won back-to-back at Charlotte and Saskatchewan, definitely putting the division on notice for yet another championship contender, joining Michigan, Panda, and Hellhound at the top. Real Boy also up there, one Daytona, but has been a little AWOL since then. And he actually won't be making a couple of the next races, so we'll see if he can maybe get back in time to make a last ditch run to pick up some extra points, but we'll see from the zero car.
Although I'm really excited to see what McAuliffe can do during the season into next season, because obviously they're gonna have to make moves. They have one driver who has definitely not been the most liked. I already talked about that. 64 car.
Doesn't matter if he's the most liked. If he starts winning races, then who cares if he's not liked?
Well,
Well,
yeah.
is he gonna start winning races though? He hasn't shown race winning speed at all. Especially not with the way he's driving against other people.
He has to change his style.
The other drivers in D1 are not gonna let him win if he keeps racing how he is.
No. He has
unless it's just by a country mile and nobody can touch him.
Yeah, his driving style has to change. While we're on D2, BMS, 24 car of Hellhound and the 99 of Panda have been fantastic together. I mean, Maryland.
Hellhound almost broke through. He almost broke through Saskatchewan for that first win on the season.
Gosh, it frustrated me.
He was so good and so close, but Volvo snuck through.
I felt like Darrell Waltrip in the booth. I went, no! I was like, ah. I feel for him. He's arguably been better than Panda in my opinion, but he just cannot get that win. I mean, I feel like he was the best car at Maryland.
It was between him and Panda, but he was definitely top 3.
No. And Panda's really stepped it up. I mean, he used to be almost in the 64s category. Not liked, not too great of a driver, but he's been around here for a while, and people are starting to respect him more. I mean, there's still the jokes, Panda this, Panda that, but I like Panda being
That's a championship under his belt.
He does have a championship under his belt. Yeah. And that was right when he started being really good too. So Panda's definitely got a lot of potential. Eric, if he could just make race times more, I know he's busy with IRL stuff like work, and I think he does stuff at racetracks where he's at. If he can start showing up, he did a lot of potential and showed a lot of potential in D3 when he raced a couple years ago. So I think Bears D2 set up really well. D1, Flicker would be a lot better if he could make more races. NASCAR fan is kind of in that middle category, needs a little bit of a step up, but he's also not the worst in the field. Same goes for me. I'm not the worst at everywhere.
I'm waiting for NASCAR fan to show that D2 champion speed that he showed late last season. I don't know if it's Bear. I don't want to say it, but I don't know. He's not performing up to my expectations, at least so far this season.
I mean, we have seen people leave Baird instantly go.
Yeah, balling.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't won. Well, he won the class, but it's the class.
Yeah.
The Ballin has 3 straight top.
Also, sorry, not D2 championship speed, D3 championship speed for NASCAR fan.
I mean, he was pretty good late into the D2 season last year.
Did he make the championship for?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, okay. Well, then never mind. D2.
He literally went on a run and finished top 5 in every playoff race.
I was just looking at the archives.
Oh, now it's just man's game, bro.
I think NAPRA's field in both divisions it's definitely got a lot of variety and pretty full
personalities
field for the most part. Got a lot of personality, like Supreme said. I mean, there's a lot. I think this is one of the better fields we've had in our history, because I know, especially after the revival, we have the large majority of the drivers are returning, but they're on different teams, and you can tell not everyone drives exactly how they used to. That's partially due to setups and stuff like that. But I'm liking how it's looking so far. I mean, obviously, there's going to be things to work on and things that can't really be fixed with current car situation. But I think we're definitely making the best of it. We have personalities like, Ruby. He can get very peed off at certain situations. We have Volvo, who just is quiet and comes up out of nowhere. We have Supreme, which I'm wanting you to bring get the heck out of my way mentality. I want to see that again. I mean, you've been doing it this season, but I want you to do it for the win because Supreme, you've been one of the best personalities we've ever had.
Oh, Supreme has had a chance to win this season.
I miss King driving because King is fast.
Nah.
Forza.
What you mean, nah?
I haven't really had a solid chance to win yet, but I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
you're basically you're telling me to, who wasn't really planning to come back to road racing to magically be like season 5 all over
Well,
again.
I'm not expecting you to. I would love to see that. Because as much as you and I have had our run-ins, you've been one of my favorite drivers to ever have, especially for the long term, because of your style and just sometimes your attitude does make me a little bit angry. But especially with I'm not bringing it up. It'll be a whole spiel. I think King knows what I'm referring.
Bring what up?
Nothing.
No, actually, say I probably won't.
The points system.
Oh, the point system. Yeah, it's garbage, but we can agree to disagree.
Anyway, so I think the last thing to just kind of briefly cover here, besides the next 4 races we already talked about, is kind of how the
early
teams...
championship picks, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say like early.
Could.
I was gonna say early champion picks and how we think teams are gonna progress through the season in both divisions. Briefly. D1, I'm gonna say Bears gonna stay roughly where they're at right now. I would like to say we'll go up higher unless me or NASCAR fan really get a hold of it. I don't think we're gonna see like D2 dominance like Bear has. BTM, I think Fleerix is definitely gonna get up there and be great. Forza, he's Forza. I mean, there's that. Mike, I like Mike. He's a great personality to have as well. Mike's funny. Mike can do really well. Ballin is still hit or miss, although he had that win.
He's been solid because he's been solid.
He has been solid.
He just missed Saskatchewan.
Mm-hmm.
But he ran top 5 all day at Charlotte.
Yeah.
And Maryland, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. ERT, Brando's been really great. I'm waiting to see what Yotre can do. I mean, we can't expect much out of a road course start, especially Saskatchewan. Like that's a track.
Well, we've been to all 4 types of track. We've been to a super speedway, a short track, an intermediate, and a road course. So we've got a preview of what our field is looking like strength wise. But I mean, we'll have to see. We've got a good stretch of short tracks coming up.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think it's a couple intermediates. I feel like we need more intermediates on the schedule. That's just me though.
I feel like we need more both, especially short tracks. That's why I was doing Martin's.
Or just a longer schedule overall.
Yeah. I know the longest schedule we ever had was 29, and then it was 27, and then 29, and then I think went slightly down, and now it's at 20 for the revival. Supreme, obviously, he's overall relatively good this season. Gotta see him step up if he can from his 2 years off, you said?
Year and a half.
DSR again, Dragon and Zach, I guess they're beefing. Perino, I'm not even gonna count him in it. Not gonna race. For Bloxine Fide, he's been inactive, hasn't he?
He raced Maryland, but that's it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I know he raced one. I can remember him. McAuliffe, we'll see what they can do. I'm hoping they bring up either a development car or bring someone up from D2. Although I don't know. I feel like the only driver they would bring up from D2, like mid-season or whatever, would be Volvo. Depending on how his speed progresses. But are you gonna want to bring someone great up that has a championship run and deteriorate that and see what they can do in the up to higher division, or do you want them to win that championship? I would go the championship route in D2 because it's your first season as a team. I would prefer not to have someone gamble that, chance away, but that's just me.
I mean, can't make D1 times anyway, so he'd probably just
Volvo
be
can't?
stay put in D2.
No, that's why he dropped
So
down.
Oh
so
yeah, that
Vindictive
is
is
why he
gonna have to
dropped down.
carry that torch for D1. So, for my opinion, I think Bear, unless someone on that team steps up, more than likely whoever makes the playoffs for that team probably gonna be a round of 8 exit. That's just in my opinion.
Oh, also Ford. I
Uh,
saw that. I saw that. Sorry, Supreme. I saw that new Michigan model that you put in, and I really
uh,
like it.
It's like full throttle.
It wasn't when I drove it.
I put the torque down to like 8,
Oh,
and I made it like 200
well, we
mile
could
an hour.
probably scale it down.
I already tried it.
Oh, that's a shame.
I could change the property of the track, possibly organized. Anyway,
I wouldn't
Supreme, sorry.
I wouldn't mess with that.
yeah. For DRT, whether it be Friendo continues to the star at these tracks or myself, so one of us will probably be in the final two. That's just throwing it out there. DSR Dragon is going to be that dark horse. He's always a dark, really talented, but he goes MIA in the parts of the season. For BTM, Forza is probably going to be that one of those final two spots, probably. And MCM, Vindictive better pray. Vindictive better hope that either he gets his act together or he starts showing winning speed.
Yep.
It could honestly be said for D2, except kind of get reversed here. EMS is probably going to have one of those final two spots in there. MCM, if Volvo continues to stop streak, he also might get in that final two spot. DRT and DSR might be around that round of 4-ish, round of 8-ish with maybe one of their drivers. And then BTM, only Real Boy is kind of the notable driver here, but he could probably definitely make some noise if was able to make some races here and there.
Yeah.
But
If Commander starts showing up, I think he'll definitely be a threat.
Commander was a threat at Maryland. I think it was Commander.
if you consider being
Yeah.
battling for third place while being 3 seconds back from Panda and Hellround as competitive,
Well,
not throwing
outside
shots,
of
but like
Maryland,
yeah,
he's good.
he attended was Maryland.
Yeah, I never got to my BMS. I think 24.99 will both make the postseason.
Easily.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with Supreme. As I think one of the two will get very, very far in the playoffs, if not a chip run or in the championship. BTM, Real Boy, he's pretty good. Just has to show a little more. Which actually, this is probably probably the worst we've seen him. But it's not even bad. It's just the worst we've seen him. That kind of shows you how good of a driver he is. Tornado, he's been iffy. Has he made many races? Has it been 2?
He made Daytona.
They made
That was
Daytona.
Oh, okay. Commander did good in Maryland. I don't know much about what Commander's good at besides commentating. He's freaking doing a major sports broadcast. Jeez. Commander, he's been pretty good. I think him and Real Boy are really good teammates. And Tornado, they're all really good teammates together, and I think that's what's good about BTM in both divisions. And they're looking to be a slightly weaker division in D2, although Maryland was very good for them. BMS had their triumph. STP, Deer can be pretty good. He's got a mentality similar to his favorite driver he used to have, Kyle Busch. Radiant and Radical have been very good in my opinion. Teal has shown more. He's got to kind of pull that out of his butt and get going. Michigan's carried DSR. He's been doing very well. McAuliffe, I don't want to say they're all over the place, but they kind of are. Ruby needs to get the speed up again. Genetic made his first start, obviously, from being gone for the first few weeks. So I can't talk much on him after only seeing him for one start. Volvo been doing very good, 2 wins straight. Definitely helping Bear with that Chevy dominance in the Break Series. Bill, he's kind of been a little iffy. King, if you have your kind of prediction here.
Well, I mean, I agree with most of what y'all said, but sorry, I've been sidetracked. I haven't been thinking, but I agree with most of what y'all said. I mean, in D2, the BMS duo is gonna be lethal come postseason. Hellhound and Panda, that is. About Real Boy, the only concern I have is his attendance. That's the only thing that worries me about his performance. But whenever he is there, he's usually a threat to win, a threat for a top 3. Mm-hmm. So DRT and D2, not looking the best. I think Radical might be the highest in points for y'all. It's either him or Teal. But Teal's usually pretty active, and he's a good driver, so he should perform well. And then who's left? DSR, like you said, Michigan's started out very well. If he can keep up this attendance and this performance, I think he'll definitely have a shot for a regular season championship.
Mm-hmm. Michigan has very good teams.
MCM, Volvo starting off hot, very impressive. Carrying MCM, Ruby and Bill got to step it up. Genetic, we haven't seen much from him yet. He made his first start at Saskatchewan, which that was a crapshoot. So we'll see we'll get a better diagnosis from him at Darlington, I assume. But for D1, Vindictive, he worries me for MCM. I think they're really gonna have to rely on midseason tryouts to pick up some more D1 drivers. They likely won't even have a shot to make the playoffs. So we'll see. We'll have to see. I think MCM is gonna be building for next season mainly through the midseason tryouts, which is good for them. BTM, Forza, and Villain are gonna be good. They're gonna work well together. Mike is good when he shows up. Same with Real Boy, but he just hasn't showed up since Maryland.
Yeah.
Oh no, he was at Charlotte. Flicker's attendance might hinder him this season, but whenever he does make it, like everybody else, he's a very good driver. Won the championship last year, so he's expected to make the playoffs if he can make his enough races. DRT, I don't know how to feel about DRT. I'm impressed with Frando's return, how he's fired off since he rejoined. The rest of their roster kind of worries me. Supreme hasn't shown speed that he usually does or that he needs to early in the season.
Yeah.
And then I haven't seen anything from Yo Trade. He left Saskatchewan early, so we shall see as the season progresses. DSR Dragon currently third at points before Saskatchewan, so we'll see if he can hang on to that. We'll see if DSR can get their teammate issue worked out between Dragon and Zach, and I believe that's it.
Well,
I think that's all the teams. Ford, you just gotta get back in your bag, get them finishes up. Yeah. But I think BMS will be solid.
Yeah, I agree with Supreme about.
Same with NASCAR fan too. NASCAR fan, he's got to step it up. He's letting me down for my preseason thoughts.
I'll be honest, NASCAR fan, he reminds me a lot of Baldwin.
Yeah.
Those two, since before I even signed NASCAR fan, they always reminded me of each other. So I kind of like signing NASCAR fan because he filled that void that we lost with Baldwin with kind of the driving style.
So you're telling me that a champion is comparable to someone who, until this season, didn't record a single top 5.
I'm talking about driving style.
Are you serious? He actually didn't win. He actually didn't get a top 5.
Yeah, no.
I am dead serious.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Holy dude.
Anyway,
that's bad.
At least he's speaking now.
Yeah, at least he's talking. Jeez.
So I wanted this podcast to be a little shorter. I'm glad we got running on it. I mean, I thought we'd run out.
How long is it? How
Just
long
over
has
an
it
hour.
been? That's not terrible.
Probably because we don't know how to formulate storylines for real.
I
There's a lot
had
of things we really could have.
I had a list of things to talk about, but we ended up going more. We connected
This is okay why
everything
we need a radioactive.
back to it, so I wanted about 45 minutes, but just being over an hour is not horrible. So that's about average for podcasts anyway. Well, I think that'll do
We
it
need a
for our,
radioactive. We need driver interviews.
I thought about uploading driver interviews as videos on YouTube as well, apart from at the end of the stream. But
And then that adds great storylines. We get to talk about like I guess other things other than like packages, driver predictions,
which
whatnot.
we don't really bring
We
up
get to kind
packages
of
at
like
all.
dissect drivers.
King, you can be
We get to
glad.
like dissect drivers.
King, you can be happy I didn't bring up packages.
Well, that reminds me. Next weekend at Darlington, let's look at the track mechanic. No,
King
Let's
was
look
the
at
only
these
one that brought up
packages.
packages.
Let's look at
King,
these
you were the
packages
only one
here.
that brought it up. The packages.
What do you mean?
That was a joke.
You brought up the
That was a
package
joke.
with the draft.
All I said was Darlington was running the intermediate package.
I know. I'm just saying. I didn't even say package until like 30 seconds ago.
Okay, good job, Bubba.
Anyway.
You wind up blowy. Sorry, close it out. Also, I might. Oh, hey. Before you leave, I might be making my D2 return. All right, close it out.
But we don't give a
Alrighty.
damn.
Yo, never mind.
All right,
Close it out.
y'all heard. This was our return to the NAPRA cooldown lap. We will have a few throughout the season. Probably 5. So this is the first of a handful of podcasts a season. So we will see you guys in a few weeks.